We've waxed lyrical about the quality of Red Dead Redemption 2 over the last month or so, almost non-stop. But it's a game that deserves it. It's massive and ambitious, and for the most part, it does those ambitions justice with spot-on execution of some excellent ideas. It's a new benchmark for the open-world style of games, and one that all future titles, regardless of who develops it, will most likely aspire to and try to emulate, at least in some ways. That applies to Rockstar's own inevitable Grand Theft Auto 6 as well. Red Dead Redemption and Grand Theft Auto are, admittedly, very different kinds of experiences, with one grounding itself in reality and focusing heavily on narrative, and the other being a more bombastic, chaotic, and over-the-top sandbox experience. So it would be strange to expect GTA 6 to emulate Red Dead Redemption 2 in every way possible. But we feel there's enough that Rockstar have done in their latest title that they should, and most likely will, take cues from when GTA finally returns. In this feature, we'll talk about 15 things GTA 6 can learn from Red Dead Redemption 2, both its accomplishments and its admittedly few shortcomings. NPCs. Owing simply to the vastness of open-world games, people don't usually expect much from them in terms of NPC interactions, but Red Dead Redemption 2 has come along and changed all of that. Interactions with every single person you run into in the game, no matter how insignificant, feel meaningful, organic, and different. NPCs have long memory spans, they react to you and your actions, and they make the world that much more believable and immersive. This is one area where all open-world games can stand to learn a great deal from Red Dead Redemption 2, including GTA 6. NPCs in Grand Theft Auto games have historically been little more than stage dressing, or just props for you to gun or run down while wreaking havoc in the open world. Having a GTA sandbox that has reactive and dynamic interactions like Red Dead Redemption 2 does is a mouth-watering prospect. More open-world heists. Heists have become integral to any game developed by Rockstar over the years, with them adding a major role in Red Dead Redemption 1, becoming a major part of the story in Grand Theft Auto 5, and continuing that trajectory in this year's Red Dead 2. In Rockstar's latest title, they're so much better than they've ever been. Train robberies, bank heists, stagecoach hijackings, and so much more are organically made part of this open world itself, and can be attempted whenever and however you please. That is the kind of thing that is begging to be added in Grand Theft Auto 6. Dynamic events in the open world. One of the reasons Red Dead Redemption 2's world is as immersive and captivating as it is the way it keeps throwing isolated, dynamically occurring incidents at players, from strangers on the side of the road in need of help to rival gang members ambushing you while you ride across the countryside to so much more. Things are constantly happening in the game's world that you might or might not chance upon. Now, GTA has its own style of sandbox gameplay, where its world essentially acts as a playground where you can set yourself loose and do whatever you want, which is a kind of freedom that Red Dead does not afford. And that sandbox has a charm and attraction of its own that is undeniable. So while I wouldn't want that to be fully replaced by what Red Dead Redemption 2 does with its dynamically occurring events, I would still like to see at least some of that in GTA 6. A more diverse map. There's a whole host of reasons why Red Dead Redemption 2's world feels as rich, large, and alive as it does, but one of the most prominent among them has to be just how varied it is. Snowy mountains, arid deserts, swampy marshlands, industrial cities, rolling grasslands, dense forests. There's just so much to see in the world of Red Dead Redemption 2. To be fair to Rockstar and Grand Theft Auto, when a game is set in an urban city environment, it's not that easy to have too much variety, and credit has to be given to Grand Theft Auto 5 for still somehow managing plenty of that in spite of it. So, what we want for Grand Theft Auto 6's open world is that it follows in the steps of not just Red Dead Redemption 2, but its direct predecessor as well, and give us a map that has a lot of diverse sights to see. Attention to detail. One of the most striking things about Red Dead Redemption 2 is just how full of detail every corner of its world is. From the way the sunlight filters through the trees, and the way snow and mud deform when people walk in them, to the way the forks of lightning visibly split the clouds in distant storms, to the fact that Arthur and the clothes he's wearing both visually get dirtier and cleaner throughout the game. The game is packed full of tiny little details that come together to bring it to life in incredible ways. Having that same level of detail in a Grand Theft Auto game, which would be set in a denser, more populated environment, cannot be an easy task, but it's one that we hope Rockstar strives for with GTA 6. More emergent mechanics. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain, Far Cry 5, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Odyssey are just a few examples of recent open-world games that focused on building a world full of systems, and then having those systems constantly interact with each other to create new stories told through gameplay on the fly. Grand Theft Auto did that before the majority of the industry even knew what emergent meant, and Red Dead does that as well, but in both games, there has been a schism between open-world gameplay and missions. While the former is obviously emergent, in missions, everything is structured and highly linear, with there only ever being one single way to finish an objective, and even attempting to do anything else results in instant failure. Red Dead Redemption 2 is guilty of this as well, and hopefully GTA 6 will learn from this particular flaw in Red Dead 2 and improve upon it, to offer players more freedom within missions themselves. Better mission variety. While Red Dead Redemption 2's missions never really got boring or dull, that was because of the strength of its characters and its writing. Its mission structure itself, however, could have done with a bit more variety. Admittedly, it was a step up from what we've seen in previous Rockstar games, and some of the set-piece missions in Red Dead 2 are absolutely incredible and will be remembered for years. Hopefully, GTA 6 will have a lot more of those, and will also be much more willing to have missions that don't all have to end in shootouts. Side missions. Side quests and missions have always been vital in open-world games, but they've grown in importance exponentially over the last few years. Red Dead Redemption 2 absolutely hit the ball out of the park in this area. While the structure and setup of many of the side quests in the game weren't anything out of the ordinary, most, if not all of them, revolved around some excellently written and acted characters, and told stories that stood out as the game's very best moments, with many of these even mingling with the main narrative in ways that inarguably made it significantly richer and more impactful. Choice-based gameplay. Red Dead Redemption 2 isn't a game that revolves around choice and consequence mechanics the way that titles like, say, Mass Effect 2 or The Witcher 3 do, and that's not exactly what I'm driving at here. But the game has so much room for role-playing. While Arthur has a defined personality and arc, the game and its writing smartly leave more than enough room for players to make their own mark as well. Emulating that as it is, to be honest, would be very tough in a GTA game. In fact, I'd say it might even be counterproductive. Being good or honorable in a GTA game is kind of missing the point, but we could always have an option of choosing between bad and worse, right? Better combat. If there's one area where Rockstar games have consistently lacked for some time now, it's combat. Red Dead Redemption 2 is similarly flawed, and though the incredible and vastly improved Deadeye helps make up for its clunky cover mechanics and finicky aiming to an extent, it's decidedly one of the game's few weak spots. Certainly, combat has to be one of the very first things Rockstar aims to improve in GTA 6. We hope so, at any rate. Better controls. Red Dead Redemption 2's controls have also been criticized, and though just how much of an issue they are will vary depending on who you ask. That they are an issue isn't something that many would argue against, though. There is a clear case of input lag, which can result in unresponsiveness and the feeling of sluggish movement. On top of that, the layout of the controls themselves have also been the subject of criticism for some, and players accidentally doing something when they had been meaning to do something else seems to be a fairly common occurrence. Hopefully, Rockstar will take these criticisms into account while making Grand Theft Auto 6. Single playable character. The biggest innovation in GTA 5 was, without a doubt, the fact that it had 3 main protagonists that players could switch between seamlessly whenever and wherever they wanted, except missions, of course. And while there's no denying that that worked very, very well, I'd argue that Rockstar and their stories are at their best when they focus on a single playable character. Red Dead Redemption, Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA San Andreas, and GTA 4 are synonymous with their leading men. Red Dead Redemption 2 especially has one of the best written characters we've ever seen in a video game. Hopefully GTA 6 can replicate what Rockstar have done with Arthur Morgan, which leads us to our next point. Better character development. As I already mentioned, the way Rockstar established and gradually developed Arthur as a complex, flawed character made the game's narrative infinitely better than it would have been otherwise. But it's not just Arthur who deserves that sort of praise. Dutch van der Linde is one of the most compelling characters Rockstar has ever created, while many would even argue that John Marston received more development and growth in Red Dead 2 than he did in the first game where he was the protagonist. Trevor, Franklin, and Michael were great characters in GTA 5, Trevor especially, but they were designed as caricatures. Red Dead Redemption 2 shows that Rockstar have clearly grown as storytellers, and there's no doubt in my mind that they'll continue in this direction with GTA 6. Weapon customization. I wouldn't say the weapon customization mechanics in Red Dead Redemption 2 are the deepest and most extensive you'll ever see, but they work well for what they are and allow the player to have a certain degree of control over how they want to approach shootouts, while the cosmetic customization options are also appreciated. It's safe to assume that weapon customization mechanics will be present in GTA 6 as well, though certainly not guaranteed. My hope is that Rockstar will go deeper with them and embrace the wackier tone of GTA by having some crazier and more outlandish options available for customization. Better wanted system. While Red Dead Redemption 2's wanted system is not without its flaws in terms of how it often overreacts to the innocent actions from players, it has a lot of conceptual strengths that GTA 6 can hopefully pick up and execute better. For instance, having more permanence to the wanted mechanics where NPCs and the law actually remember your actions even after your wanted level goes down, or having dynamic little ancillary features, like how whether or not Arthur is wearing a bandana can affect his wanted level as well. And that about does it for this video. If you enjoyed what you watched and want to see more from Gaming Bolt, you can always hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell icon next to it. That way you will never miss any of our videos.